Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
You can put it on the board. Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. And, of course, a big welcome into our friends over at Highway Country. A big hello to everybody over there. And those are our friends. And we just want to say hi to everybody that's driving between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. You could be coming or going to Vegas on 107.3 FM or 101.5 FM. That's Highway Country right here in Las Vegas all the way to sunny Southern California. Thanks for joining us there, as well as everybody on Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW, and independent cable affiliates from coast to coast, as well as everybody on Hotel TV in all Nielsen-rated markets where applicable. And, of course, hi to everybody on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that out, show. That's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right. Look, always controversy. The sporting world has controversy. That's what we do over here. We talk about things that are a little controversial from time to time, especially when former Miami Hurricane and Maryland Terrapin safety Avante Williams charged with murder. Unbelievable. Folks. Williams played a couple of seasons with the Canes and 3 with the Terrapins. Of course, never mind the 4-year plan as standard. This is the 5-year plan. But then again, we have a problem here because Avante Williams has been charged with the unthinkable, charged with murder. So a former safety, of course, as I mentioned, this guy charged with second-degree murder in the city of DeLand, Florida. That was according to Sports Illustrated. And, of course, the police department over in DeLand had said the same exact thing. And so the police arrested Williams in connection with the shooting death of a 32-year-old person, to be nameless. We'll just leave them out of it. Early Saturday morning, which followed what witness described as a fistfight around 1:30 a.m. via the DeLand, or you can call them DeLand, Police Department. Now, of course, Williams, only 24 years of age, played for the Hurricanes, as I mentioned, 2021, 22, and for the Terps in 23. I guess he didn't play the other 2 years. Nonetheless, he had a tumultuous tenure with Miami as a medical issue, and his arrest on 3 charges of aggravated battery of a pregnant person. That's right, of a pregnant person. What the hell's the matter with this guy? That's unbelievable. What do you think of doing that? I don't know. Anyway, 3 charges of aggravated battery of a pregnant person cost him much of his first 2 seasons. The latter charges, later dropped, led the Hurricanes to kick Williams off the team before later reinstating him. And this, of course, is for reinstating him. How does that even happen? I will never know. Nonetheless, well, that's crazy. I don't care if he later transferred to Maryland, recorded 3 total tackles in 2023. Police stressed the investigation into the shooting is ongoing and Williams is currently being held, per court rules, in the Volusia County Jail in Daytona Beach. How does this happen? How does this horrific behavior happen in the first place? But what I really want to know is, look, I'm going to get to the NCAA in just a minute here. How in the world does the university, they reinstated him. Miami did. And we like to joke around with Miami and say this and say that. But look, on a serious note, how does the university reinstate somebody, that's right, that's had this horrific relationship, well, let's just say with the city of Miami, I guess, with the University of Miami and everything Miami, seemingly, and 3 charges of aggravated battery of a pregnant person. And how did they reinstate him? Under what grounds? Why would they do it? Well, everyone deserves a second chance or some crap like that. But what I don't understand is, where do they draw the line of what is acceptable behavior and what is not? What is a moralistic point of view from this? What's an ethical point of view of this? How about some accountability? This is the one thing that I think that this particular university historically has turned a blind eye to, as I have noticed, in my opinion. It's my opinion, and I can say that because it's my opinion. But the reality is, this is not anything new as far as controversy is what I'm referring to. Controversy to the University of Miami. And whether players are controversial there or not, maybe they just have bad attitudes. And here, I found this kind of interesting. Cam Ward, their quarterback from last season, was drafted number 1 overall. That's right, drafted number 1 overall. And this is the guy, in my opinion, that of course would, if you're on the playground playing football, whatever, like a pickup football game, whatnot, just on the playground with the other guys, well, and if he didn't like the way things were going, in my opinion, he would take the ball and go home. That's right. And we're going to continue to boo the University of Miami. Some people call them the Miami Thugs. Some people call them the Miami whatevers. I don't know. We had a really funny, I guess a funny show back in March 25th of 2017, going the way back time machine. We're talking over 8 years ago. And we had Rusty Spindell, who is a former NCAA referee and former NFL referee. And Rusty had made a joke on the show, and I'm going to see if I could find it at some point. But the point is, he made a joke, and he said, and this was essentially a knock against the University of Miami with the way that they were paying players back then. And he said something to the effect of, I'll paraphrase it, he said, apparently I'm not getting paid enough because the players are driving more expensive cars than I am. Right. And so you wonder, how much chaos has been going on over there? Whether it is player accountability, whether it's academic accountability. I don't think it's a terrible academic institution, but I'm very suspect of letting certain behavior slide. Now, we've seen this in the National Football League with certain organizations. And in fact, there are certain organizations that have less discipline. And this is according to players that I have spoken with. So, for example, one player that I know that played for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, won some Super Bowls over there, and then went on to play for the, at that time, Oakland Raiders. Of course, now being the Vegas Raiders. Not to be confused with the Las Vegas Raiders, because Las Vegas Raiders does not exist. They are the Vegas Raiders, as I understand it. Nonetheless, so it's like the Vegas Golden Knights. Maybe they are the Las Vegas Raiders. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is this. When this particular person was playing for Bill Belichick and, of course, Robert Kraft, a first-class organization, top to bottom, in the New England Patriots, say what you will about Tom Brady, it doesn't really matter. I'm talking about the way the organization is run. Full discipline, full diet, full accountability. And that's just the way the organization was ran and it's still run at this point. However, when that particular player entered the locker room of the Oakland Raiders, it was almost the polar opposite of what he was used to. And the conversations that I had, that I will not share some of the details of, the conversations were very confusing because one would think I've never played professional football. No, I'm a former baseball player, not a football player. But what I will tell you is that there's typically a norm across the league. There is a standard. There's supposed to be a higher standard nonetheless. But it seemed that the Raiders did not have that discipline. Now, right here in Las Vegas, we seem to have time and time over discipline issue after discipline issue, whether somebody's getting ran over and killed in a car accident, Henry Ruggs, to other disciplinary issues, drunk driving while intoxicated, driving under the influence of this, that, and the other, and who knows what else, other discipline issues. The Raiders are one example of a team, in my opinion, that are run not only from the top all the way to the very top down. They are run less than stellar, but it seems like there is a very big discipline issue. Now, I'm really surprised that the Raiders didn't trade up to get Cam Ward, because it would sure seem that him coming from the University of Miami with this bad situation with Avante Williams, you almost seem like, look, one bad apple doesn't spoil the bunch, but boy, it sure seems to be that there's a lot of bad apples out of the University of Miami. Nonetheless, this guy, Avante Williams, he's going to go to prison. The question is he going to get a light sentence like Henry Ruggs, in my opinion, or is he going to get the full complement of punishments? Who the hell knows? All I know is there's a lack of discipline, there's a lack of accountability, and there's a lack of integrity within the NCAA, and we're going to pick on football. We're going to see it right there. We're coming back with football in just a few moments, right here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners. You and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the MTV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Folks, make sure you check them out. All right, been with us for about 8.5 years, and hopefully you'll be with us for another 8.5 years or so. All right, big welcome in everybody listening in on all of our network and independent affiliates, including our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Thanks for waking up with us, 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, over in Auburn, Alabama. That's WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Thanks for joining us over there as well. Thanks for driving home with us, by the way. And a big welcome back to everybody up and down the midsection of the country. Of course, out to the West Coast, all the way out to CBS Sports 1500 KHKA over in Honolulu. That's home of the 49ers, New York Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And a big hello to our friends over driving up and down, our friends on the highway. And that's in California, Nevada, and Arizona. Highway Country, 107.3 FM, 101.5 FM. Also, our friends over on The Drive, the Highway Rock Station, 94.9 FM and 96.9 FM, as well as right here in Las Vegas, The Vibe, one of my favorite stations, 99.7 FM. Boy, folks, if you're looking for some good dance music, you can also pick them up on 98.1 FM and 98.9 on that drive from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, or Los Angeles, the LA Basin, out to Las Vegas. All right. So, in the last segment, it was some chaos, of course, with the University of Miami, because that's kind of what happens with them. And, of course, this segment, we're going to jump into a little bit more on the regulatory side. Now, Nick Saban is expected to help lead Presidential Commission on College Sports Reform, according to Patrick Andres of Sports Illustrated. We're going to go ahead and give it out to them. And, of course, he has been a vocal critic of student athletes roaring 2020s, like the Roaring 20s. So this is the Roaring 2020s, I suppose. In any event, former Alabama coach Nick Saban left his mark on college sports recent past, and he appeared poised to shape its future as well. President Donald Trump is expected to name Saban a co-head of his new commission on college sports reform, according to a recent report from Sam Kahn Jr., Ralph Russo, Chris Vanini, and Justin Williams of The Athletic. We're going to go ahead and give them credit because they're the ones that broke this. Now, Saban, according to the report, will lead the commission in a tandem with, quote, a prominent businessman with deep ties to college athletics, close quote. Now, Trump is expected to engage heavily with the commission. Now, of course, the reported drive to convene a presidential commission comes at the midpoint of the most transformative decade for college sports in more than a century. So a slew of factors, namely the liberalization of rules governing transfers and athletes' ability to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, have given college athletes unprecedented power. However, it also has left much of the business of college sports uneasily regulated, of course, if regulated at all, leaving administrators scrambling to claw back the upper hand. And what a mess this turned out to be, folks. Past presidential interventions in college sports have had long-lasting effects, though, and whatever Trump and Saban team up with, fans and athletes may live with the consequences for generations to come. And, I love how they spin this. I mean, listen, folks, this is not a blue team thing, a red team thing. This is an NCAA team. But, of course, this particular publication just happens to spin towards a particular political party, which is not what we're doing here. I think it's a very, very poor taste in the grand scheme of things for this particular publication. But moving on. Also, the Trump administration to create a landmark college sports commission. Now, in case you didn't hear this new presidential administration is creating a commission designed to address issues facing a changing college sports landscape, as we basically mentioned here. Now, of course, President Donald Trump and the new administration is planning to create a presidential commission to follow up, of course, on the previous article on college athletes, according to that report. This one is from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo. Now, the commission, the first of its kind, is expected to be designed and address issues impacting the changing landscape of college athletics. And the commission is expected to include college sports stakeholders, business people, as we mentioned, of course, Nick Saban, with deep connections to college football, according to Yahoo. And so, some potential issues that could be addressed by the commission include the transfer portal, which is an absolute disaster at this point. I don't even know why student athletes are allowed to transfer more than one time. I mean, one time, hey, you make a mistake, fine, you can go on the next one. But I think it is of incredible latitude that they're given. Geez, I don't want to say anything negative here, folks, but I have to say that the way this alleged transfer portal works is completely disastrous. And even when it comes to the transfer portal opening up, even before the season ends in college football, is complete lunacy, in my opinion. Now, of course, there are issues with unregulated booster pay, transfer portal, college athlete employment status with universities in the revenue sharing era. And of course, the application of Title IX to revenue sharing and potentially even conference membership and television contracts. Folks, there's one common theme with all of this. Can you guess what it is?
Show me the money!
That's right. It's all about show me the money and I'll show you a contract. It is just disastrous. I mean, I can't tell you in one show how disastrous it is, but I'm sure you can imagine. So the commission could be announced in short order via presidential executive order. And the commission is expected to include involvement of former Alabama coach, like I said, Nick Saban. And of course, he and Donald Trump discussed the college sports landscape. I mean, who better to do it than a guy that, in my opinion, had violated many of these alleged rules or whatnot, or bent the rules, in my opinion. I'm saying this because I'm allowed to say that, folks. Now, I'm not saying whether Nick Saban's a good guy or a bad guy. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think they violated some rules. I think they bent so many rules, just like some other organizations or universities that I feel, and of course it's, again, my opinion, that Notre Dame never seems to get in any trouble, and even Ohio State never seems to get into any trouble whatsoever with all of these alleged rules or whatnot. I don't know, maybe they're overlooked. Who the heck knows? All I know is that's my opinion, and I am entitled to it. That's right. I'll give myself a round of applause for that. All right. But anyway, we go back to this commission thing. So the commission could be announced in short order, as I mentioned. And of course, let's face it, news of an impeding commission comes as the bipartisan NCAA House settlement that would permit revenue sharing from schools to athletes is right conveniently near what? It's near the finish line. And speaking of which, let's jump into that because we're right here with it, thinking about this so-called House settlement draws closer after sides amend the roster limit proposal. So lawyers from both sides submit a significant tweak to perhaps the biggest remaining sticking point in the college sports antitrust case. And we're going to give credit to Brian Fisher in the same organization here for scribbling down some issues here and discussing some of this. But boy, I got to tell you, this is just a gigantic mess. So this landmark settlement in the House versus NCAA antitrust case appears one step closer to being finalized by the U.S. District Court overseeing the matter after both plaintiffs and defendants submitted a notable tweak to proposed roster limits that were at the heart of a 2-week delay to the process. So following, yes, a stern warning, whatever the case, an alleged stern warning from Judge Claudia Wilkin, that made it clear she would not issue a final approval of the settlement if the parties did not adjust previously agreed upon limitations, capping the number of players on rosters. Lawyers for the Power 5 conferences and the NCAA spent much of the past week discussing various models that would allow current players to be grandfathered into the proposal and the proposed new system that would set to more stringently cap the number of players each team could carry. So according to a new filing, that was made just before a court-issued deadline. And of course, an interim solution was reached that all involved hope will be, of course, the final hurdle to clear in resolving the $2.8 billion case that is poised to significantly reshape college athletics for the next decade or beyond. I'm going to continue on with this when we come back from break. There's just way too much to dive into. And folks, you know what they've done? Being the NCAA, these student athletes and whatnot, they have absolutely torn apart the very fiber of football and basketball, largely, because those are your two NIL big sports here. Generally speaking, those are the two big ones. They have changed the games as we watch them in high school sports, in college sports, how it affects professional sports. Money, 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 and I'm going to dig into that real soon on this whole money, money, money garbage. But I have to tell you, they have absolutely destroyed what we knew college football, high school basketball, and college basketball as. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Lots more to come. You don't want to miss this one. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer, all other streaming platforms where applicable. Of course, everybody else on social media, thanks for joining us there. And, of course, all of our television and radio affiliates from coast to coast. Also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners for thesportscircus.com. And one of our favorites, is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Folks, if you can't make it over there, try out some of that great food. Check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. And you can read about the history. They are the creators of the famous Italian beef sandwich, not to be confused with that less than substandard, we'll say, Philly cheesesteak, if you will. Nonetheless, the Italian beef sandwich is a very special sandwich. It takes nearly a day to prepare the actual beef itself. Boy, is it good. I got to tell you, folks, you're really missing out. Check it out, alsbeef.com. And, of course, they get the super applause. They get the super applause because why? These are our friends. We don't get anything for saying that. We just want to plug them because we love the food, if you know what I mean. All right, welcome back to everybody else. You know who you are. All right, back here with this story of the House settlement drawing closer with this whole $2.8 billion suit between the House versus NCAA antitrust case. But this whole thing is just wrecking college football and college basketball. So picking up where we left off here from this SI article here, it says, of course, key to the update settlement terms is that schools will be allowed, yet notably not required, to keep players around who otherwise would have seen their spots eliminated in order to comply with the new caps on team roster limits. So that's one of the central sticking points here, is the alleged roster limits. Now, while many programs had either already nudged athletes out the door or downright confirmed player cuts in advance of their roster limits coming into effect this summer, the fillings and the filings, the roster fillings and the actual filings, instead allows an avenue. Yes, an avenue for those impacted to remain enrolled and exempt from the already agreed upon roster limits for their sports. I wonder if it's actually in their charter or in their settlement is to exempt these alleged student athletes from academic standards as well. That's right. Recruiter for one of America's finest universities, what I see, in my opinion, what I have seen are some very, very questionable academic standards that have been bent, broken, fractured, call it what you will. And I remember seeing this, I think it was 2017, and it was with the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. That's right, those guys always get a boo from us. And what I found was they had a class that went on for 10 years. And that was, I think it was called African American Studies Section 420. So a senior level class in undergraduate studies. So it's at the 400 level class. But there were two sections of it. There was the standard class for all the standard students, the student body. And then there was a mirror class. Basically the same section, same name, African American Studies, Section 420, but that one specifically was for student athletes. And this went on for 10 years, as I understood. I may be paraphrasing. I may be a year off or I may be off just a little bit here. But I remember covering this back in, I believe it was April or May of 2017. You can go back to our earlier episodes and find it, or just do a quick search online. You can find it as well. But it turned out, now the chancellor knew about this, as we understood, or as I seem to recall. It turns out that apparently the mirror class for the student athletes, that particular section, they, being the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, allowed their student athletes to grade their own papers. That's right, so they could stay in academic compliance. What kind of nonsense is that? And apparently the chancellor knew about the student athletes grading their own papers, so of course they were not going to become academically ineligible. I believe that's what the term was. But the chancellor apparently knew about this for a decade and didn't do anything about it in the first place. That's ridiculous. How is that even allowed? So what I'm wondering here is, with all the accommodations that are made for these so-called student athletes and this name, image, and likeness crap and the transfer portal and all this other nonsense where there are accommodations, well, to keep players around or otherwise would have seen their spots eliminated, we're going to go ahead and basically baby them, and we're going to expand this, expand that. We're going to give them a little break here and a little break there. Oh, the athletics were very stressful, and so we're going to give you extra tutorial work. We're going to give you extra credit so you can bring your substandard academics back up to the league minimum, or better yet, well, I would say the league, for example, in the SEC, right? So we cover the SEC, and, well, there are some highly questionable academic institutions in that part of the country. And so as I see it, it seems like some universities happen to be a little bit more competitive than others, trying to get what? Trying to get the best athletes to play. They happen to be allegedly students. They are, as reported, or purportedly, it's a great word. But the reality is accommodations are made left, right, and center so these schools could have good football teams, good basketball teams. And how is that fair to the rest of the students? That's not very fair. What about the scholarships that are taken away from those that want to be professors? They want to be musicians. Maybe they want to study the arts and sciences. Maybe they want to study math, and maybe they want to study, I don't know, some kind of liberal arts or whatever the hell. Maybe they want to study anthropology. Who knows? The point is, all of those students don't, in my opinion, get the same bending of the rules as these student athletes. And I can tell you, as an academic recruiter for a very difficult university, they happen to be pretty good in basketball. But it's academics first. If you don't do the work there, you're not going to be playing basketball, plain and simple, just like it's supposed to be. And of course, I have questions about other institutions, as I mentioned previously, such as Ohio State and Notre Dame, among others. So I'm curious as to the alleged filing status on the rosters that I mentioned previously. So moving on, interestingly, if an athlete is not retained by their current school, they can still maintain their grandfathered status after transferring and would not count against the overall roster limits at their new school. There's another big boo right there. Whatever happened to an athletic clock? In college sports back in the day, there was an athletic clock. You actually had 4 years on the clock to play your sport. Whether you were playing sports within your 4 years, you had that 4-year clock start. I remember that clock very clearly as well. Honestly, it is a dumpster fire today. So here, let's just keep making accommodations. And here's a quote, of course, and this is regarding the actual filing. Quote, any athlete who would have lost their roster spot, imagine that, or a promised roster spot for the 25-26 academic year due to immediate implementation of roster limits will be exempt from any roster limits at any Division I institution for the duration of their college athletics career. Close quote. That's ridiculous. Let's just keep making accommodations, shall we? And of course, such a compromise, the product of near round-the-clock discussions among general counsels. The conferences and the NCAA lawyers addressed one of the chief concerns from over a dozen objectors to the House settlement, which provides for greater opportunities for some athletes, such as baseball players splitting a limited number of scholarships to an entire team, potentially receiving full rides. Whereas, of course, football players and basketball players, they don't have to split any scholarships and garbage like that. No, but they're going to go ahead and single out baseball because it's not high enough revenue. And, of course, they're going to say, well, while providing a more structured nature in terms of overall number of players on each team, yeah, in baseball, they're going to basically throw those guys under the bus. And never mind, we're going to let the football players and basketball players drive the bus. And, of course, most power conference schools are already planning on adding millions of dollars in additional scholarships as a result, even if the total number of athletes could decrease in certain areas. You know why? Because that money, in my opinion, will be used to do what? To pay the players in the first place. Of course, though changes concerning the roster limits of how some athletes would be treated under them have been made, it does not necessarily guarantee final approval of the settlement. Yeah, this is a bunch of nonsense. Well, it remains unclear as to whether the potential grandfathering in players impacted by the roster limits would ultimately satisfy the 75-year-old precedent over the judge's final case in the Northern District Court of California. Of course, but many involved in the process expressed optimism. Whatever. This whole thing stinks, and it stinks to high heaven. Folks, we're going to be back with baseball. I'm sick with this college football and college basketball crap. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on The Circus.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049. Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
Hey, everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, again, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, prior guests, and of course, all of those shows with all those superstar guests on them as well. Lots of fun shows, thousands of hours to listen to. Hell, we've done about 2,200 shows over the last 8.5 years, and we've hopefully going to do another 2,200 shows in the next 8.5 years. Also, make sure you check out the store. There's a tab at the top of thesportscircus.com. There's a store. Pick up hats, t-shirts, sweatpants, coats, mouse pads, pillows, travel mugs, all kinds of fun stuff over there. All silk screened, of course, and or embroidered, made in the USA products from the sportscircus.com website. Check that out, folks. The sportscircus.com's store. Lots of good stuff out there. Have some fun with it. Tired of talking about all that negativity from the NCAA and all this drama and all this chaos. And how about something, well, it's a little frustrating to me, but it's kind of humorous at the same time. I'm going to shift into baseball. How about my beloved White Sox? And I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of that right from the outset, because I have to say that they just keep finding ways, hilarious ones, to lose games. It's just what they do. And honestly, it's not that they're a bad team. They just make mistake after mistake. And it is an absolute and complete abomination. It's just what they do, folks. And sometimes when you watch it, you scratch your head and you're saying, that can't be real. Lo and behold, it's real. Now, this one happened, and I'm just going to let this one play out. This courtesy of the four-letter network, ESPN, FanDuel, and Sports Illustrated as well. Moving on, here we go. All right, so let me set this up. Here you've got the White Sox pitcher. You've got a 3-2 game. The White Sox are up 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth at Kansas City. And you've got the closer in, and he is delivering the ball to the Kansas City Royals batter. The count is 1-1. There's a man on first. And here we go. So here comes the pitch, and just listen in. This is really ridiculous. Here we go. Drew Waters is at the plate, by the way.
Popped up. And hit his head. And Canna is going to be safe at second base. The White Sox have played great defense all night. And that was a routine big league pop-up, wasn't it?
It sure was, and he struggled. Look at, you could tell he was struggling with it. Now the wind is not blowing like it did earlier. Look at him. Look at Mydroff. He just totally whipped it, and Taylor's throw was over. They had a force play. Watch him see with his, oh man, off the glove and off the dome. He's saying, oh man, what happened?
Ridiculous. So what happened was the second baseman, on a little pop fly, he went up to try to catch the ball on a routine infield pop-up. It was a very soft hit. Well, unfortunately, the second baseman, he happened to put his hand up to go catch the ball. Well, unfortunately, sometimes things happen. Well, they just keep finding ways to do it. But it happens that Chase Mydroth put his hand up to catch the ball, put his glove up to catch the ball. It ricocheted, the ball ricocheted off of the glove, and yes, off of the head of the second baseman. And that is something, look, the last time I saw something like that was when Jose Canseco went to field the ball in the outfield, and the ball bounced off of his head and over the fence to be a home run. And this one, it was even more embarrassing because when you watch it, you say, okay, the ball then ricocheted out to the right fielder who had come in, and then he fielded the ball off the dome, off of Mydroth's head. He threw the ball apparently to second base, and he airmails it over the second baseman's head on top of it, which obviously creates a small problem, of course, for the visitors, being the White Sox. And so now you got runners at first and second, and, well, we kind of know what happened in that game. But pretty embarrassing stuff. I won't even get into the balance of it, but what I will say is after the game, the White Sox post-game show, host Chuck Garfien and analyst, World Series champion Ozzie Guillen, they sat there in complete disbelief between shock, depression, disgust, and straight-up laughter. You didn't even know what to think, what to say, and you had to just kind of laugh along with them. And Ozzie Guillen had said that if he was still manager of the team, well, the team would have stayed on the field after the game to practice until 2 o'clock in the morning. That's right. And, sometimes it takes that. And let's face it, these White Sox are better than last year's White Sox, who set a modern-day record for losses, which I think Colorado, the Rockies, are probably going to break this season because, boy, the Rockies are bad. Somebody had asked me, loyal listener Larry, had asked me, he said, who's the worst team in baseball? He goes, do you think the White Sox are the worst team? I said, no. As a matter of fact, they're not the worst team. The worst team are the Colorado Rockies. They really have one player, and that's Doyle, and he's their center fielder. That's it. They've got nobody else, period. And that guy won't even be on the team at the trade deadline either. It's just time to empty the cupboards and get rid of everybody. Frankly, they just moved the team. I don't know, maybe they can move them to Montana or something. I have no idea. But they are bad. But you want to also talk about bad. Sometimes these teams don't get any help either. And better yet, sometimes it seems like the sports books are getting some help. So we think about that and we say, well, wait a minute. How about the umpires? What's going on with the umpires? And now, in a recent game, this was a game with the Minnesota Twins and Baltimore Orioles, and this is a headline by MSN. They say Major League Baseball umpires, and this particular one, had the announcers shaking their heads over so many bad calls. And this particular umpire was Ron Kolpa. Boy, apparently he had either a really bad night, he had a hot bowling date, or maybe tickets to a basketball game right there. I don't know. They had something going on, but it says Major League Baseball umpire Ron Kolpa had a night to forget Tuesday in Minnesota as he missed a wild amount of calls while working home plate in the 9-1 Twins rout over the visiting Baltimore Orioles. So Kolpa, whose struggles have been well documented before, sound interesting, right? Sounds familiar, had the announcers shaking their heads all night as he missed 18 calls. And of course, a sample, and I love this, here's a sample of the announcers' reactions to those missed calls. In fact, I think we should just play it. Let's see if this is the right feed. If it goes to commercial, again, folks, I can't help it, but I don't think this will. This one is compliments of X, an umpire auditor. Listen to this audio.
Certain breaks. As he tracks low, oh, that was called a strike, and that was ball 4.
Clearly out of the zone.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to get those numbers
Next
back
pitch,
to where I want them.
Clearly out of the zone, called a strike.
If I'm having pitches, to me, he's a rookie off lefties.
Next pitch,
he has not had that many at-bats. He hasn't had...
3-2 coming to him, and he gets the fastball.
Not even in the zone, called strike corner. 3.
Well, it's the fastball that he took for ball 1 to begin the at-bat.
Yeah, exactly.
And
clearly out of the zone, outside
corner.
pitch.
And Buxton strikes out looking. 7 years old.
Right down Main Street, not called a strike.
And fooled Ron Kolpa there, 1-1.
Got a gift on the curveball.
Jeffers strikes out.
Lineup.
Now Cedric Mullins leads off for the...
Some of them they probably will.
Just outside, not getting that call. 2-1 on Adley Rutschman.
This guy missed call after call after call, and I don't know what was going on, but look, I have seen pitchers get squeezed, but I've also seen pitchers get a lot of breaks, but it sure seemed to me, of course it's my opinion, Ron Kolpa either had a bet on the game or maybe somebody had made a bet on the game. Maybe there was A wire transfer? I don't know. I wasn't there. But from what I see, this was the worst Major League Baseball umpired game since Angel Fernandez. Angel was just terrible. Angel Hernandez was just an awful, awful umpire, in my opinion. And I have never seen a medley of so many terrible calls. I mean, calls that were clearly outside that imaginary strike zone that they put out there, that square or whatever, to give the fans, the viewing audience, a chance to see what the alleged strike zone is. But boy, this guy was missing a ton, causing strikeouts after strikeout after strikeout. It was rather embarrassing. Again, maybe at a prior commitment, I don't know what it was. But this was really bad, folks. I mean, when you look at it, you scratch your head and say, well, wait a minute. Even somebody on X had said Ron Kulpa must have had tickets to the Wolves game tonight. Buxton, Correa, and Lewis, all victims of a very generous strike zone. Now, I'm looking at the graph on this. And the graph, I mean, these balls are clearly out of the zone that were called strikes to strike these players out. And even RC Cola, you know, the soda, RC Cola, they even said on X, Ron Kulpa, you are very bad at your job. Now, mind you, that came from RC Cola. Boy, they don't really speak up too much now, do they? I mean, so many people had sounded off on this. And even some other people in the Orioles organization or tied to them. And this one was Orioles' Kobe Mayo was rung up by home plate umpire Ron Kulpa on this 3-2 pitch by Pablo Lopez that was clearly, folks, I'm looking at the zoom in. I mean, it was off the plate clearly. And you ask yourself, how the hell does this happen? These guys are supposed to be professional umpires. Maybe they're not paid enough. Maybe the wire transfer did go through. I don't know. But it sure seems in the day of all this fantasy sports betting, all the sports book stuff, the ties to the major casinos right here in Las Vegas, turning the lineup cards in 90 minutes before the first pitch and all this other crap. It just seems to me that these games have all been compromised. Somebody once told me, a Super Bowl champion told me on air, I won't tell you which one, they said on this show, all the games are fixed. Period. Yes, they said that in prime time on this particular program. Pretty embarrassing stuff. I wonder how many of the baseball games have been fixed too, if not all of them. The whole thing is a big disaster, folks. Tell you what, we're out of here. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. Pretty informative stuff, folks. We'll see you in 23 hours. So long, everyone. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus. Join me and Hall of Fame world champion and all-star celebrity guest for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms. Also, thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.